Good afternoon, St. Markins and friends of St. Mark's Episcopal Cathedral. My name is Paul Lebens-Englund. I'm privileged to serve as the seventh dean of this cathedral, and I'm coming to you live from my office here on the cathedral campus here in downtown Minneapolis on Loring Park. I'm wearing a jacket, which should indicate that the temperatures outside are shifting away from brutal summer heat and humidity towards fall, crisp, cool air, which of course is my very favorite time of year, thus the excitement. But it also means not only that the seasons are shifting, but that in a way some of our congregational priorities are changing. We've got a little bit of a project that's coming up that many of you will know we do every single time this year, every year, and that is the annual pledge campaign. The pledge campaign here at the cathedral this year is going to run from October 2nd through October 30th. That's a 5-week window, 5 Sundays and the weeks inclusive thereof. And you're going to hear on each of those Sundays a testimony from one of your fellow cathedral members about their connection to one of the 5 marks of mission, right? Those 5 marks of mission, again, are the global mission statement of the Anglican Communion, those 5 priorities that remind us that when we're doing those things, we're doing church right? That it's kind of keeping the main thing, as you've heard me say. The first of those 5 marks, of course, is proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, that all churches who are engaged in godly work are proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, that those churches, the second mark, are teaching, baptizing, and nurturing new believers, right? That growth and the incorporation of new membership is part of what we do, that churches who are responding to the gospel imperative are also responding to human need through direct, loving service. That's one of the things that the church does. Likewise, churches not only tend to direct service as we find it showing up on our doorstep, but we also go upstream to work on addressing those unjust structures of society that produce the need, right? So we're responsible for the whole container, not just the contents of the container. And last but not least, expanding the view even larger is that churches who are engaged in gospel work are also engaged in the work of safeguarding the integrity of creation, thus our climate justice work here at the cathedral, which I hope you're going to hear more about in the year ahead. Those are the 5 marks of mission, and those 5 marks are going to shape the narrative around the cathedral on Sunday mornings throughout the month of October. I'm excited for you to get to hear from your fellow parishioners who will have a good word to share, not only about their particular relationship with the mark of mission on which they're speaking, but also why they are compelled, therefore, to support this cathedral as a local expression of that mark of mission. So I hope you'll show up during the month of October to hear and listen in on that, and likewise be inspired to support this cathedral as these speakers are. I can say for myself and my own family, our pledging practice started when I was in college. I remember my very first pledge was a $10 a month pledge while I was a college student to my local parish. And it was a big deal for me to move from maybe showing up with something in my pocket or not to be able to contribute to the plate, which is good and important, and that revenue matters to the churches. But it was a big spiritual thing for me, finally, as a college student, to make my first pledge commitment of financial support to my college parish. Again, like, it was $10 a month, and it was significant to me that I knew I had committed to it. But part of what really mattered to me was that I knew that the church knew I had committed to it, and it put me in direct relationship with them, that there was not only sort of the rights of being a member of the church, but it was the first time I really felt the weight of the responsibility of being a member of a faith community. And that wasn't just thinking about what's my return on investment, right? What does this place do for me? But it was about my responsibility to make sure that this gospel-based presence existed in this community for anyone who needed to find it, right? So really the return on investment was simply the satisfaction of knowing that this place that had been so transformative for me, that had found me and gathered me in, and truth be told, changed my life as a college student. I wanted to make sure that that presence in the community existed for the next Paul who came along, who was lost and hurting and needed a little bit of love and tenderness and redirection. So I invested. That's the first time I ever pledged, and I have been a pledger ever since. Our family are pledgers. We've pledged ever since. And we're still pledging here at the cathedral. We pledge a significant amount of our monthly income to this cathedral, not simply because of the return on investment that it is for us, though I love everything that this cathedral does. I love the enriching worship. I love the programs. I love the people I get to spend time with. And I love the things that we're partnering with in the community to make a difference. But when I think really hard about why I continue to give sacrificially to this cathedral, I'm reminded of myself as a college kid who was looking for community, a place where I could begin to make some meaning out of a world that seemed confusing to me, a place where I wanted to know the right way to do justice and to tend to the cares and concerns of the world that weren't going to eat me up kind of on the inside, but a way to be courageous and forthright in the things that I believe, but not so rigid that I became brittle or dangerous to the world for that matter. And the church did that for me. It still does that for me now. And when I pledge to this cathedral, I do it because I want to make sure that this place exists to gather folks in, that we're first and foremost a place that finds the least and the lost who are looking for community, a place to show up and experience love and kindness and affirmation, to have their dignity defended and affirmed, in a place where then we all together join in the hard work of personal and organizational transformation for the sake of changing the world around us. And that work is not always flashy. It's not always a big show or a big production. It is more often than not very quiet, more often than not very private and incremental. It just shows up little by little in changed lives over the course of months and years and even decades. And so I'm doing my part in making sure that this cathedral exists for the people around me now. It's also my job to make sure that this cathedral exists for the folks who will come after me. And again, I know that I'm surrounded by folks and talking with folks listening to this right now who've been giving for a long time to this cathedral. And I want to thank you for making sure that this cathedral has existed for me and my family. And I want to thank all of you who give now and will give in the future for making sure that this cathedral exists for others. So whatever your story is and your personal commitment to this place, I hope that you will join me and my family in making sure that St. Mark's is among your top 2 charitable recipients of your dollars in the year 2023. St. Mark's is by and far probably 5 or 6 times ahead of the next leading recipient of our charitable dollars as a household. And I hope that the cathedral can count on you looking at it that way as well. We have mailed to you, all of you in our database will receive correspondence from the cathedral this week, probably this weekend if you've not received it already. Within that letter, you will find a cover letter from the cathedral leadership. You'll find a summary of the 5 marks of mission with a beautiful meditation from Mary Beth Farrell. You'll also find a pledge card and a return envelope to this cathedral. And what I'm going to ask you to do on behalf of the Finance Committee and especially the treasurer of this cathedral, who would like some numbers sooner than later, I'm going to ask you not to wait for all 5 weeks of October, but as soon as you are ready to make your financial commitment to this cathedral, I'm going to ask you to either complete that pledge card and mail it back, or that you would respond digitally. And there's multiple options listed on the pledge card for you to do that, including a QR code. But I'm going to ask that you respond very, very quickly after you've prayed on it, but I want you to respond quickly because we have some goals actually this year for the first time in my 8 years here that we would have some real hard numbers to work with when the council comes together in November for a first reading of the 2023 budget. And that happens on the 3rd Thursday of November. So what we're going to do, we're going to have 5 weeks of the 5 marks of mission. We're going to have 5 weeks for folks bringing their pledge cards and getting their pledges into us. Then we're going to have 2 weeks of follow-up calls for those folks who have not responded yet to the pledge campaign. So that on that 3rd Thursday of November, which according to my calendar is the 17th, we'll have some real numbers to read a good first draft of the 2023 budget. Then, of course, we'll perfect it and read it again at the December council meeting, which then finalizes the budget for presentation to the annual meeting in January. Please, I'm going to ask, do a huge favor to the Finance Committee, to the Finance Chair, Gina Christ, to the treasurer, Ted Sherman, and to your senior warden, Brian Childs, and get those pledge responses in as quickly as you can. And as you get them in, I want you to be thinking too about how it is that you're pledging. If you've been pledging at a particular dollar amount, I want you to consider shifting over to a proportional gift. Look at your entire income and imagine a percentage of that income that you're giving to support the cathedral. If you have been giving through checks or dropping things in the mail or in the pledge plate, I want you to consider the possibility of automatic giving so that the cathedral can predict the cash flow and can run its operations knowing exactly when money is coming in based on when it needs to go out. Anything that you can do to help your council run this cathedral's finances smoothly and courageously, because we've got real numbers to work with, I hope that you'll do so. And again, not later than the 30th of October is our preference, but do know there's going to be phone calls happening in November, on the first half of November. So if you don't want one of those phone calls, do your part and get your pledges in. Now, we will have Thanksgiving, of course, that final Thursday of November. Prior to that, we'll have a big celebration of our final number so that everybody gets to know what we have done together to fully fund the mission that God has called us to here at St. Mark's Cathedral in the year ahead. I hope you'll join me. I hope you'll join my family. I hope you'll join other St. Markans in giving generously, even sacrificially, because there is so much good work that needs to be done, not only in us and among us, but more and more these days around us. And we want to have all the resources necessary to be a participant in the good work that God is up to. So thank you so much. Thank you for your responses, and get them in quick. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to call the business office and ask for Kate Thompson. She can be reached at 612-870-7800. And again, we look forward to hearing from you. We wish you the very best, and we're so grateful to be part of this great mission with you. Take good care. God bless. Bye-bye.